And we're back. Now, a time to look at my favorite topic, RTD and fast tracks. Yes, it just keeps getting better. From the Independence Institute, and now in her own practice, Jessica Corry. Now, you're working with Bob Hoban and company.
I am, Hoban and Fiola.
You making lots of money?
No comment.
When you make a lot of money, you can make a donation, you know.
I don't make as much money as RTD, let's put it that way.
Good point. Kim Gillan, thank you for joining us. You're with a group called Concerned Citizens for Compatible Development. That's very wordy.
It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. Let me see if I understand the issue, because I saw the little blurb on the news, and the little blurb went like this. After strong reconsideration, RTD has decided to keep their rail station exactly where they frickin' decided it would be in the first place. Exactly. And that was really all about you. Explain this debacle, because it just shows what RTD is doing throughout its expansion with fast tracks. Give me the brief story.
It really is a debacle, and essentially RTD had a multi-year, multi-million-dollar study to plan and approve the station sites, and throughout that study, Federal East was the preferred location.
And this is for the Gold Line part of their fast tracks, put rail everywhere, no matter what the cost. And so it was going through Federal Boulevard.
Yes.
And Federal and about
near
where?
60th Avenue in Adams County, and it was planned and approved on the east site, which is industrial. It's a perfect area for development. Even Adams County recognized that in a private study they had done by paid consultants who also concluded that Federal East was the appropriate place for the station. Throughout this whole multi-year process, it was on the east until a private developer from New Orleans entered the picture. And suddenly in June, we start getting a hint that the station may move, but yet there was nothing public about this.
Wait, a private developer comes in and RTD is willing to change the plans? This is news. This has never happened before. So you've been dealing with this more than anybody else in Denver, trying to battle back a lot of the weird land use issues that has been coming along with fast tracks. And it's difficult when you're on the line and all of a sudden RTD wants your property or wants to put it next to your property. What happened here?
Well, I think this could very easily become an infomercial. Yeah. You know, there's no secret that you're an opponent to fast tracks, and that the Independence Institute has been very strong in its voice for property rights protections. But really, this is about so much more than that. It's about whether a private developer should be able to come in and dictate the future of local communities over decisions that have already been made or over the interests of people who are already there. So on the left, people might call this corporate welfare, and on the right, it is all about property rights. Yeah.
So what did the guy? It was New Orleans.
Yes.
Oh, that's even better. It's New Orleans. He's on the riverboat. So the guy from the riverboat comes up. What is it he wanted?
He wanted to put in a light rail station, or he wanted RTD to put its station next to a high-density, mixed-use retail residential development that he claimed would increase the vitality and be in the best interest of the community. And fortunately,
that's why he was doing it.
That's why
he was doing it. He wasn't doing it to make money. He was a good citizen.
There is this idea that we can sort of plan our way out of every economic crisis. And what we've seen with RTD's efforts and efforts across the country to put in these high-density developments is that, first, government is not necessary to the success of these projects, and second, government doesn't ensure the success. Across the country, there are high vacancy developments that are just open windows and sucking up tax revenue in terms of the corporate welfare that goes to these developers.
Yeah, I mean, it just drives me crazy when, fast tracks itself is nothing more than a study in corporate welfare. You take a look at who donated to the fast track selection and who's being rewarded with contracts. And as another fast track selection to pay for the rest of it comes up pretty soon, you're going to see the same corporate welfare. But what I don't quite understand is why you care about this, whether it's on one side of federal, in this one instance, and these instances are happening throughout Metro Denver, or the other side of federal. What's your motivation here? Help me understand.
We have several reasons for caring. One is our community was involved in this process. We had a couple members from our community that participated throughout the process. And Federal East was the preferred location for the community. We live in that community for the rail station.
So you people who actually live there worked with RTD, and over time it was decided it's going to be on this side of the street, and then out of nowhere, some guy comes in, a Mississippi gambler comes in and says, well, we'll put it on the other side of the street.
Absolutely.
And why was that bad? What was?
Well, because one, we want the entire Federal Boulevard area revitalized. Putting the station on the east gives us an automatic benefit in that it cleans up a blighted area, cleans up a landfill, and helps promote growth throughout an area that needs growth, which will benefit our community. Putting it on the west essentially gives a private station to a developer who's going to get government subsidies to benefit his pocketbook at our expense. It creates a landlocked station.
When you say landlocked, you mean that there's no road going to it?
There is no road going to it. It's about a quarter-mile west of Federal Boulevard. It's not even directly connected.
This was going to be a rail stop that
Yes.
no personal cars could get to, so people who lived or worked there could use it, but there was really no place to drop somebody off at the station.
They could drop off. They will have to drive through a high-density development to get there. And the parking will be very limited because, as you know, RTD and TODs aren't real car-friendly, so they don't want to.
Transit-oriented developments. The idea is put the cars off the side of a cliff and force people onto the choo-choo train at gunpoint. So
Yes.
It's
Get
the
rid of your
ultimate alphabet soup, TIF and TOD and all of us. And
paid for by PIFs and yes,
exactly. And what is so incredible about this is time and again, we have waged losing battles in terms of property rights. Eminent domain or transit-oriented development, all of these tools the government have are incredibly powerful. And here was one woman and her family and 1,000 citizens signing on to a petition drive saying, we believe in the process, we believe the process was violated, do the right thing. And RTD did the right thing to its credit here. At least it's saying so now.
Pardon me for being skeptical. I was only the chairman of RTD for a while, so I know the inner workings. When somebody from the neighborhood wants something, but somebody with some money says, you know, we'll put it here, usually you guys lose. What happened? How did you get RTD to quietly do the right thing?
You know, RTD kept insisting that it was all Adams County's choice. They were very adamant about that throughout the process. On the other hand, Adams County kept insisting that it was RTD's decision. Finally, what happened was Adams County took a stand and they came forward publicly with a written letter and said, look, this is not our decision, this is RTD's decision. And I believe it put RTD in the position of having to back up their words.
So in other words, the only way to get RTD to do the right thing was to embarrass them and say, wait a second, nobody wants this except you. And since RTD is very hungry for money, a private developer flashing a few dollars certainly has a lot of sway here.
A lot of clout.
How hard was it to get 1,000 signatures?
It was not hard because just about everybody we spoke to were adamantly opposed to Federal West. They were opposed to the station impacting wetlands, and they were for the improvements on Federal East. Probably 1 out of every 20 people that we spoke to did not sign the petition. And we had it written out on the petition. We were very clear what we were in favor of.
So what amazes me is that you made a lot of money personally from doing this exercise, going out there and getting the petition. You get paid to do this, and if you get it where you wanted, you were set to make a lot of money having it where it is. Is that right?
Oh yes, we got rich off this.
And this is part of the fight with RTD, that people who make money off of it, and I'm talking about the developers and the bond dealers and the contractors and Excel and everybody else who's got a piece of this. You know, they get paid to work this system, and then RTD comes into somebody's backyard, and good people have to stop what they're doing to fight interests who get paid or will get paid if it goes their way. This doesn't seem to be a fair fight.
Well, of course it's not. We've got the government here, but to RTD's credit, its spokesman, Kevin Flynn, former Rocky Mountain News reporter, was very welcoming in terms of the dialogue. And what we had was Kim Gillan burying RTD and open records requests. And like I said, this is about more than property rights.
Explain that, because I don't think people understand that what RTD does, or any government, you get to see what they're doing.
Exactly. And to anybody who's out there, regardless of how you feel about light rail or fast tracks or RTD or government, it is an incredibly powerful tool to be able to go to your government and say, I need this document. I need to know what you're emailing about. I need to know what you're doing on a daily basis. And this has been
I want to see the letters you
tool.
had with with the investor. I want to see the letters you had with the developer. I want to see this, and you can get those things.
You can get a lot of it, and Kim was able to do that, and I think RTD got scared. It wants, and it says it needs more tax revenue. It can't have somebody like Kim dictating the story in the news media like she was able to do for weeks on end. It has to make Kim happy if it wants to be able to go to taxpayers next year or the year after and say, we need more money.
How much time did you put into this and your group? I mean, this was, you know, it sounds like a silly little fight to somebody who's not there. You know, I don't want the stop sign in front of my house. I'm going to go fight City Hall. It almost sounds like that, but this is a lot of work, and it's happening in municipalities over land use issues all over the place. How much time? Put it in man hours.
I worked day and night, literally 7 days a week. And I was very fortunate that I had quite a few very committed people that were working with me. But yes, it's a full-time job and then some. You know, I put a lot of my life on hold to fight this, but I felt it was worth fighting, that people need to know what is going on. They need to know that RTD is not always being upfront with people on situations.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part. RTD is not being what?
Upfront with people.
Really?
Yes.
That's been your experience?
With my experience, when you start diving through thousands of pages of documents and you start realizing how they're contradicting themselves and bending their own data.
Give me an example.
For instance, throughout their documentation, they recommended Federal East because of its industrial nature and because it was a good area to develop. And then when this developer enters the picture, all of a sudden they don't want to use Federal East because, quote, it's a landfill that might need cleaned up. So that was a complete flip-flop in their position. So
because of the open records laws and your ability to go back and find all those old documents, they've got this history saying, this is the perfect location until we get another offer. Oh, it's a terrible location.
And most of
this is a funny business. This is why we don't trust RTD. This is why we have these feelings. What did you say? They're not always honest. Interesting. All right, this is an isolated case. This is purely an isolated case. RTD hasn't pulled this anyplace else.
Well, of course, you're being facetious. It's interesting that Kim's last name is Gillan, because just a couple years ago, we had Kim and Galen Foster, who successfully waged a campaign against RTD in terms of open records requests and litigation. And what we saw come out of that is RTD used our taxpayer dollars to send one of its leaders of its organization to San Francisco to educate city planners, municipal planners around the country about how to organize against grassroots opposition. So RTD is leading the nation in terms of how to fight back, and then yet here comes Kim, and she's able to do the same thing. That tells me RTD cares a lot about what people like Kim think, and it's really an inspiring story.
But it takes a lot of work to keep them on their toes.
It does.
Kim, congratulations.
Thank
It's good
you.
to see somebody win one of these. Jessica, thank you for making all this public. And thank you. Listen for me late nights on 850 KOA. Check us out at Independence Institute. That's independenceinstitute.org. By all means, tell a friend, and we'll see you next week.